Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. All right. I think we're finally live here now, folks. Give me a second to get on the screen. All right. This is live. That is live. How's it going, everybody? My name is Andrew, and this is Rocket Future. Thanks for joining me here tonight. We are live from just outside of Boca Chica Beach, down here on the southern tip of the Gulf Coast of Texas. Just right behind me is SpaceX's Starbase facility. Of course, this is where they're building and testing the Starship launch vehicle, the rocket that launched for its first full stack launch for the first time in 420 just a couple months ago. If you've been here before, we generally like to do some streams and just keep people updated about what's happening down here at Starbase and when the next launch might be. I haven't been doing the streams as often lately, but I am getting back into it now, and I'm really excited to be back down here today. And we're doing things a little bit differently here today. So bear with me as I'm kind of my brain is just all over the place trying to get all this stuff working from a technical perspective. But we're not only streaming to YouTube right now, but hopefully we're streaming to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and a couple other platforms. So it was a little bit of a challenge getting it all going, but I think we're live and I think we're good. So you can see I am live here on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, I got a camera facing the OLM, so we'll be zooming in to see what the folks are working on the OLM. But let me take a second here to, one of the challenges I'm having is seeing chat, so I'm just going to occasionally have to pop over to read the chat. I see Will is in chat. Thanks for popping in, Will. So this is cool. This is great. It looks like it's working all right so far. But yeah, we can kind of get right into Starbase and what's going on at Starbase. Let me make sure my audio is good and everything. It does look good. So yeah, let me give you a little bit of an update on Starbase. So 420 was the last launch down here at Starbase. That was Booster 7 and Ship 24 launching for the first time. Full stack Starship rocket. Really amazing to see. There's a bunch of highlights on the channel on YouTube if you haven't seen those yet. Definitely take a look and check them out. It was a really amazing day, but there's a lot of questions about what is next here at Starbase and when we might see another launch. Now, one of the biggest pieces of work that SpaceX needs to do prior to the next launch is kind of fix everything that was broken at the orbital launch mount during that first launch attempt. So the first launch attempt was great, a lot of really good learning moments, but it did do a lot more damage than was anticipated to the orbital launch mount. So there's been so many people working, just like you're seeing behind me right now, getting everything back into shape and doing upgrades so that the OLM is better protected for the next launch. So we'll be zooming in and checking out what they might be working on up there, but you can see all that scaffolding going on. Of course, down below, they're also working on what they call I think it's the steel sandwich, which is basically the new water deluge system, which really should keep the pad safe underneath, which we're really hoping to see that be tested and working for the next launch attempt, which will be great. And then you got to decide which is the next vehicles to go. Right now, SpaceX has mentioned that Ship 25 and Booster 9 are going to be the next the next combo to launch. We just don't exactly know when it's going to happen yet. But the testing for Ship 25 has ramped up, which was great. Just a couple days ago, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, SpaceX completed a spin prime test of Ship 25, so you can see the propellants being loaded into the vehicle there, and then this little pause frame here is actually a still from that spin prime test. So this is a great precursor to them doing a static fire test, which is a test we all know and love down here. That's when they actually ignite the engines on these vehicles. They keep it on the ground. It's not going to fly anywhere, but we hope they do that static fire test pretty soon. Like I said, bear with me for a little while, folks, while I kind of get everything rocking and rolling here. Let me get you a full screen of the OLM here while we're working on getting all the technical pieces working. Let's fix this scroller at the bottom here, which is probably not actually even updated, but I will check that. Checking in chat, Will says looks and sounds good on YouTube and Twitter, but just cut out for a few seconds. Still good now, though. Gotcha, no problem at all. No cutout since that first one. Clear image and sound. Awesome. Very much appreciate that feedback, Will. That is extremely helpful. I'm sure we will have drops occasionally. So now we are, this is being broadcast through Starlink, so this is going through satellite connectivity up into space and back down to y'all. So we do have those drops occasionally. But it seems pretty, as long as it's pretty stable, we can handle some of those drops. Beautiful sunset out here at Boca Chica here today. I can give you a little bit of a wider view of what we're looking at for a sunset. Let me go full screen. Beautiful night. It is pretty warm down here. There's been quite the heat wave over the last week, and it's going to continue through the next week. Since SpaceX is right on the water here, it does help a little bit keep it under 100 degrees. Once you start adding in the heat index, then you start getting over 100. But just about 15 or 20 minutes inland, we've heard about some temperatures over 100 to 110, even 116 if you get a little bit further in. So these crews here at SpaceX are working hard in all conditions to get the launch facility and these vehicles ready for the next launch, which is very, very cool. I've never seen so many people down here. It's really quite it's quite crazy. There's just people everywhere lately. Speaking of people being everywhere, let's quickly just take a look at what's happening. I'm going to put the mic down for a second. All right, so we have the orbital launch mount. There are always vehicles, heavy machinery moving at the base of the orbital launch mount. Again, you'll see a white piece of machinery kind of stick its head up just over that berm there occasionally. And those are probably just people working on getting the deluge installed and any other groundwork that needs to be done at the actual pad underneath the orbital launch mount. Now up top, you see a few folks working up there. Again, working on probably all sorts of different things. They could be working on the clamps that hold the booster down before launch. They could be working on the actual platform at the top, or just any of the ground support equipment, pipes, anything that needs to be replaced, repaired, or improved prior to the next launch. Now, just a little bit to the right, there is also a crane working up on the launch tower itself. Not exactly sure what they could be working on there. And actually, you know what? They might not be working on the tower. I can't really see where the attachment on the crane is going, but I'm going to keep my eye out on that for y'all. And there's a ton of work going on everywhere else here at Starbase too that we probably can't necessarily see from this angle. And especially at the build site. There's a ton going on at the build site, but that will be for another stream. Yeah, like I said, folks, I'm just a little bit out of practice. It's going to take me a couple streams to get back into the swing of this, but I'm glad to be back down here doing it. I'm really glad to be bringing this to more platforms. As long as this works all right, this is going to be how I'm going to do things in the near future. I no longer want to be platform agnostic. I want to be bringing this to as many different platforms as possible. Like, I know there's a lot of folks that really only go on Facebook. To me, it tends to be like an older generation that kind of keeps on Facebook and they don't necessarily go over to Twitter and YouTube as much. So I don't want to be excluding folks from seeing what is happening down here at Starbase. So I'm trying to cover as many platforms as possible. So let's hope this works out all right. And I did, as I was setting this up here today, let me get back in front of the camera here for a minute. Make sure we get a live view of what's going on there. So this was this configured for today's stream. So I know everything isn't super streamlined. Like I know my thumbnail on YouTube isn't actually my thumbnail on any of the platforms are probably just a generic thumbnail for today, which might actually impact who pops into stream or not today. But that's okay. I'll definitely make sure I fix that for the next one. And there's probably some other things like chat I'll have to figure out. But I was a little bit worried because I've gone live twice in the last like half hour. The first one just seemed to completely fail, but I switched which server I was connecting to, and that actually seems like it's working a lot better. Our bit rate isn't super high, so I'm sure I am probably dropping here and there, and the quality is probably dropping as well from time to time. And just in a couple seconds, we're going to talk about something else big that's happening here at Starbase tonight, something that we might be able to see with our own eyes and through these cameras here today at Starbase. I do want to get an update on that prior to me telling y'all about that. So Detroit Mission Control is in the house. Welcome, Detroit. I'm going to do another introduction here too. I've just been babbling on and not stopping the last few minutes, so I just want to kind of settle down, settle in, reintroduce the stream, let everybody know what we're seeing here today, what we're doing, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we might see here tonight. So let's do that. If you're just joining us, my name is Andrew. This is Rocket Future, and welcome. We are down here at Starbase. This is where SpaceX is building the world's largest and most powerful rocket ever. It launched for the first time on 4/20 just a couple months ago. It was really awesome, but we wanted to come out here tonight, and we like to do these streams just to update about everybody about what's happening here at Starbase. So we're going to be looking at live views of the orbital launch mount. They have a lot of work going on the mount, so I'm going to keep you going with some live views of the mount. And then later tonight at 10 p.m. Central Time, so just about now, what time is it? 8:30? Yeah, just under a couple hours from now, there is an intermittent road delay scheduled. Now, I want to double check to make sure it's still scheduled. But generally speaking, what an intermittent road delay is a precursor for is some big machinery or a vehicle moving up and down this highway that's right behind me. So these are really cool opportunities to see either a ship or a booster roll down a public highway. These are very, very large vehicles, and we get a really cool up-close view of these vehicles turning onto the highway and turning off of the highway. So I don't exactly know what the intermittent road delay tonight is for. There was some speculation that a booster could potentially go down to, or a ship could potentially go all the way down to Massey's, which is another piece of the Starbase testing facility on the other side, past the build site. But on my way down here, I did notice that the cement jersey barriers are in place between the two lanes, and the left lane between the build site and Massey's testing facility is not drivable for an SPMT. Now, we have seen them take an SPMT down a single lane prior, but usually that's just for if they're moving a booster stand or some other piece of machinery. I don't think that they would move a whole vehicle. I don't think they could move a whole vehicle down a single lane. So I don't expect like a ship or a booster to be rolling down to Massey's tonight. I could be wrong. We'll have to see, but I don't really anticipate that. So that kind of brings up the question, what exactly are we going to be seeing tonight for that road delay? Could they potentially roll something to the launch site down here? And it is possible. However, because of how the parking is right now and all of the folks that are here working at SpaceX, there is heavy amount of cars lining both sides of the highway. So I don't expect them to move anything until those cars move. So if all of those cars move out of the way, that actually would be a good precursor or indication that we might see something roll down to the launch site here today. Some other possibilities is they might have just published that road delay to move some of the pieces of the new mega bay from in front of the Starbase sign over to where they're building this huge new building over at the build site. So in addition to all those options, they could just be moving some other heavy machinery from one point to another, or using SPMTs to move something. So we just don't know. But I'm going to keep my eye on that. I'm going to check to see if there's any updates on those things. But that, again, that's coming up in just over an hour and a half. So we'll have to wait and see there. But let's, now that we've done like a real intro and a little bit better of an intro, let's take a look. Detroit Mission Control, how are you doing tonight? I'm going to check on a few different feeds just to see how everything's looking. YouTube is looking pretty good. Twitter is looking pretty good. Let's check Facebook out. Facebook is looking good. Wow, this is pretty cool. And let's check Kick. And Kick is looking good. No viewers on Kick right now. That's awesome, though. I'm really, really excited to see all this is working. Really excited to see that this is all working. Huge shout out to Vix. Y'all on Twitter probably know Vix for sharing our live stream here. Thank you so much for sharing that on Twitter, Vix. Vic says, curious about tonight's movement closure. This guy's got you covered. Can't join you already, 2:30 here, and I got to quit for the night. Good luck. No problem at all, Vix. Again, thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, we're going to keep y'all updated on what is happening with that road delay tonight. And hopefully whatever it is, we will get a good view of it. Other than it being kind of hot and humid, it really, really is a nice night out here. I'm hoping the bugs kind of stay away. If anybody has visited Starbase in the past, you probably know that the bugs here are really just kind of insane. There's just mosquitoes everywhere and a bunch of other flying insects as well. But it all kind of depends on, you know, the recent weather. There hasn't been a lot of rain recently, and I'm not seeing a ton of mosquitoes out here yet. So hopefully it stays that way. But it is a beautiful place to visit. If you ever get a chance, definitely come on down. You don't need any sort of special access or anything to come out to where I'm standing right here. This is all public access, so you can get just as close as I am. And again, this is the launch pad right behind me. When they have a booster or a ship on the pad, you can again stand right here and check that out, which is such an awesome thing to see. But it's really nice to be able to come out here and check out all the work that they're doing. I had someone come over just a little while ago. He actually previously worked at SpaceX, and he came over and was very, very nice and basically just said, I appreciate everybody that kind of comes out here to document what's happening here and show the world. He said, you know, you're up there working long, hard hours, trying to make this thing happen. And the fact that people are noticing all their hard work, it meant a lot to him. So I'm really glad he came over and said that. That was inspiring to hear, and it gives me a little bit of ambition to kind of come out here more often, which I do intend to do. I am ramping back up. I know I've been saying that. I just have to do it. So let's make it happen. But it's good. It's good. I don't exactly know when we're gonna see another launch out of here. It really could. I'm 50-50 on it. If we see one by the end of the year, I'd be super, super happy fairly reasonably soon, but I'm not expecting it to happen reasonably soon. So if it happens in 2 months, I'm not going to be surprised, but I'm not really expecting it, if that makes any sense. So we're just going to keep coming out here, especially with the testing campaign of S25 ramping up. Again, let me just show you what we saw here a couple days ago. On the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see what is called a spin prime test of Starship S25. You can see that white line growing up towards the bottom, or from the bottom of the vehicle. That was as they loaded all the propellant, and then that moment right there that froze for a second. I'll show you that again. This moment right about here is the moment that they did that spin prime test. So basically what that means is they flow liquid oxygen through the liquid oxygen side of the engines and test that half of the engine, make sure it's working correctly. This, again, is generally speaking, a precursor to a static fire attempt. Now, we saw some road closures published for next week starting Monday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So we're hoping to see some more notices come out that would indicate that they're going to go for a static fire in Starship S25 as early as Monday. So we want to see potentially a marine safety information bulletin, which they post, and maybe even a notice to Boca Chica Village. I'm curious how much, if any of these processes have changed since launch. We'll just have to wait and see. But we just have to be careful because the things that we did expect to be indications of like a static fire and things, we got to remember those things could change. So if there's a road closure on Monday, I plan to have a live view of Starship S25 to see what's going to happen. And if we get a static fire, it's going to be great. I'll try to have a remote cam out here as well to post after. But we're going to have live views of Starship 25. And that static fire, of course, y'all probably know, is when they actually ignite those engines, make sure that everything's working correctly. Before, they generally speaking will ramp up and do bigger and bigger static fires. But we don't exactly know how things are going to happen with Ship 25. That's what they did with Ship 24. Maybe they're more confident and are going to go right for a full 6-engine static fire. We just don't know. I'm excited to see, though. Checking in on chat here. Detroit Mission Control said he's tired. And he hears Texas has been getting really hot temperatures recently. I will comment on that in a second. Detroit says, have they started putting up the new ground fabrication building at Sanchez? I'm not actually too sure, Detroit, if they've started working on that building. Mostly what I'm seeing over there is them building all of those pieces to make up the new Mega Bay. I'm not entirely sure about that building, but next time I'm heading over there, I will check to see if I see any update on that. But yeah, Texas has been super hot. Like I said a little bit ago, it is good that they're right on the Gulf here. It keeps it a little bit more moderate. But like I said, just 10, 15, 20 minutes inland, it's hitting over 100 and close to 110 or even higher every day, and it's going to continue to be like that. But right on the water here, it's, like I said, it's staying under 100 mostly, before you add the wind chill or the heat factor, heat index. But Dave Avery is here, Rocket Future. Maybe they will move Booster to the Rocket Garden tonight. Yeah, I could see that being one of the possibilities. That is one of the better possibilities that I could see happening. But I just don't know. Have they previously posted intermittent road delays for moving boosters from the High Bay Mega Bay to the Rocket Garden? Have they previously done road delays for that? But yeah, I'm not expecting to be down here at the launch site for when that road delay happens, because I really don't think it's likely that anything is going to roll down here. So I will start heading up towards the build site in another hour or so. Dave Avery says, looks like the new booster pad is ready. Gotcha. So that sounds like the most logical explanation for the delay tonight. I still wouldn't be surprised if we just see something else moving, some other piece of equipment, some sort of stand. But I don't know. I like that. I like the idea that the booster could be moving to the Rocket Garden. So let's hope we see that tonight. So it's 8:36 Central Time here now, around 9:36 Central Time, or 9:30. I'll start heading up to, maybe a little bit earlier actually, 9:20. I'll start heading up towards the build site, which will mean we'll be disconnected for about, I don't know, I'd say 10 minutes. The stream hopefully will not go down during that time, but like I said, we are working with there's a whole new piece of technology in the loop here tonight, so I don't really have any expectations. Worst case scenario, if the stream goes down while I move up to the build site, then we'll just start up another stream. Let's see what we got working at the base of the OLM. Lots of folks down there right now. But so I'm using a piece of software. I don't even know if you'd call it software. What would you call it? It's a cloud software, I guess, that allows me to stream to multiple platforms at once. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but again, I know that not all demographics and ages and all these things use things like Twitter and YouTube as much. And some folks really like their Facebook and whatever else. So I am trying to stream to as many platforms as possible, again, to bring everybody as much info about what's happening here at Starbase as possible and reach as many people as possible. So this is the base of the orbital launch mount. Again, unfortunately, they did do quite a bit more damage than they were expecting to the base of the launch mount area during the first launch. I know I'm jiggling it around. I'm just trying to fix it here. The good news is they've done a lot of work to repair it very quickly, so it's actually coming together pretty good. The big piece of work, again, is that water deluge install. Folks could be working on that here tonight, just not exactly sure, but you can see on the left-hand side there's at least a handful of folks working there. I saw some welding going on. There's somebody on that scaffolding on that left leg of the orbital launch mount. There's a crane or some sort of heavy machinery we keep seeing pop its head up towards the center of the launch mount. So much work happening, and it's really encouraging to see that, you know, they're taking this seriously and hopefully getting this thing ready for the next launch. Don't forget to like and follow and subscribe and all those things, folks. It really helps us out here at the channel. We want to reach as many people as possible. I know I was just saying that. And your interaction with the content really helps. So don't forget to like, share, do all that good stuff. We appreciate it so much. Helps out a lot. The sun is well set by now. So we're dealing with a little bit of leftover light it's gonna escape us pretty quickly. It's gonna get dark here, but we got a lot of lights going on at the OLM. And like I said, we're just going to be hanging out here by the OLM for another 40 minutes or so, and then we're going to make our way up to see what might be moving over at the build site. Look at that. Anybody know what that is? Let me adjust this here. Give me just a second to make sure that we got that in view when I don't want to have to keep putting pressure on it. There we go. And Space Girl Falcon is in chat. Space Girl Falcon says, thanks for the stream, Andrew. It is my pleasure as always. I am very happy that we got this stream live after some technical difficulties. It's encouraging to know that this is working, and I'm going to keep doing this. Beautiful view of the moon and Venus tonight here as well. We're going to take a little bit of a look at what's happening here at the base of the OLM, but in just a little bit I'll show you what we got for a view of the moon and Venus. I think it's Venus at least. Give me a moment here, folks. I'm going to take 1 minute of a break, but I'll be right back with you. Dave thinks that might have been argon welding gas supply. That big tank that we're seeing there in that metal casing. Seems to make sense to me. We'll zoom out just to give folks a little bit of context on where we are and what we're looking at if they're just joining. It's the base of the orbital launch mount here at SpaceX's Starbase facility. Of course, the orbital launch mount sits right next to the launch tower. That's the big tower that you see above the mount. And we're just taking a look at what kind of work that SpaceX is doing tonight to get the pad and mount ready for its next launch. Like I said, we are losing daylight pretty quickly here. I'm going to make some adjustments on the cameras to make sure that we are able to see what's going on. But while we have a little bit of daylight left, I do want to give y'all an opportunity to ask any questions you have. And that way I can jump in front of the camera while we have some daylight and try to do my best to answer those questions for you. Obviously, I'll be answering questions throughout the night, but it's nice to be able to kind of, stand in front of the camera and answer you. So let's see. This light on the left, we might need to change our exposure a little bit to adjust for that, but let's see if we can just kind of frame it out for now. Is kind of standard. Yeah, I always see that happening down here. Our bitrate is struggling a little bit here tonight, but as long as we can maintain a shot that you can tell what's going on, then that's good enough for me. And then we'll work on optimizing this new setup on upcoming streams. What I can do is kind of so I did kind of give an indication a little bit about, I don't really know when we're going to see a launch, but I can at least run y'all through what we need to see happen before the next launch, what milestones we need to hit. So let me do that. That's assuming that, so this other camera is actually on a still frame. Let me update it and see if we even got enough lighting. Give me a second to update this one. Interesting. Let me bring you back full screen, and then let me use studio mode to fiddle around with that other camera. So in the meantime, while I'm fiddling around with the other camera, you can still see there's two people up at the top of the OLM. They've just I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're overseeing some work or maybe they're taking a break. I'm not really sure. But they've been kind of standing up there for the last couple hours. And I am starting to get bit a little bit, so I think I'm going to try to find some bug spray. Give me a minute, folks. I'm going to find some bug spray. All right, bug spray applied. How about this other camera, though? Let's see. I think I'm just going to re-add this video source to OBS. There we go. Just barely enough light to make some more comments before I shut this commentary camera down, and then we'll just keep the main camera going. Split. All right, this is live now. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of an update of what to expect for when we might be able to see the next launch. Now, again, I don't know when it's going to happen. I would love for it to happen this year. If it happens in the next couple months, I won't be surprised. I'm not expecting it. That's what I've been saying. But here's what we need to see happen. So, like I said, we've been seeing a lot of work being done on the orbital launch mount. They need to repair any of the damage that was done. Sorry, I'm trying to shut my flashlight off. I'm supposed to be able to shake my phone, but it's not working. Yeah, so we have to see a lot of the damage that they did to the OLM repaired. A lot of that is done already. They've been hard at work at that and actually making really quick work at a lot of that. Replacing anything like those clamps that hold the booster down, the metal pieces that go on top, really any lines, pipes, anything like that needed to be replaced. I'm sure they're making some improvements as well. So let's just put that all in one category. So let's call it orbital launch mount repairs and improvements. That's one. Number two is pad. Specifically, I mean underneath the orbital launch mount, we need to see that orbital or that water deluge system installed and tested. So that's number two. So OLM repairs and improvements, water deluge, and there's probably some work that needs to be done on the tower as well. But I'll kind of loop that into those two categories. Next, of course, is vehicle readiness. So Ship 25 just completed spin prime test, and we next need to see it go through a series of, just checking bitrate here because I see it's red, but we're green now, a series of static fire testing. So hopefully we can see that start as early as this week. How many static fires is required for Ship 25, we just don't know. If we see the first static fire go right to 6, depends how, all the data, that is received from that test, how that goes. But more than likely, they'll have to do more than one static fire testing on Ship 25. Next, of course, is all of the testing that needs to happen on Booster 9. And I will have to remind myself, or if anybody in chat would like to remind me of what testing Booster 9 has had so far to date. I know it's gone through some testing, but I don't recall exactly what. I think maybe cryo, but I'll have to remind myself of that. And then it will have to go through the same series of likely spin prime tests and a series of static fire tests. Now, I'm almost positive I am pretty much positive that they'll have to do a series of static fire tests on the booster. Again, I don't think they're going to try to do a 33 engine static fire or anything like that right off the bat. Yeah, we'll have to see, make sure the engines are installed on booster 9, and start with spin primes, series of static fire testing. This could take weeks or months to complete. Beyond that, there's a couple other things. So let's just recap. We have the OLM repairs and improvements, including launch tower and the orbital launch. Under the orbital launch mount, we need that water deluge system installed and tested. We need Ship 25 to go through its static fire testing campaign and make sure all that goes well. Same with Booster 9. We need to have Booster 9 go through the static fire campaign and everything and make sure all that goes well. And then we're getting into some more uncertain territory regarding things like pending FAA lawsuits, things like that we just won't ever know until it's all of a sudden we see a launch license, or we hear that we have a lot more waiting to go, depending on the results of all those things. So again, we just don't know. So all we can do is focus on the things that we can see, and that's testing, installing of new hardware, and repairs. So that's what we're keeping our focus on, and that's what we will continue to keep our focus on. Again, hopefully we see a static fire on Monday. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, so you are informed on when we see that static fire. Now, I don't have any lighting left on my commentary camera, so let's go full screen on the orbital launch mount. I'm going to check in with chat here. But don't forget, as a part of that conversation, anywhere along the way of testing Ship 25, Booster 9, they could decide that they want to go with different vehicles, and that will completely change our time frames as well. Detroit Mission Control says, did they move the tank that came into the port to Starbase yet? Not sure. I will check on that for you as well. Space Girl Falcon, are they loading prop? No, right now they're not loading any prop. I think you're just seeing some of the ground vents that I think just kind of happen. Just keeping everything in the tank farm in a stable state. Space Girl, I think that's just normal venting. Correct. Yeah, Detroit Mission Control. Yeah. NASA and SpaceX says Starship. Let's call that a go Starship, because I'm excited. Space Girl Falcon says, thank you, death to those mosquitoes. Absolutely. Detroit Mission Control says, I don't remember any testing on Booster 9 yet. Yeah, I'll have to let's go through my feed right now. Give me a second. Let's go advanced search from these accounts at the Rocket Future. Booster 9. Okay, so on 12/21/22, Booster 9 completed a cryo-proof test. So again, that was December 21st, 2022. Booster 9 completed a cryo-proof test. So it was down here at the launch facility for that test. It rolled out here to the launch facility on December 16th. Of course, it hasn't been down here it hasn't been down here in a while. So it has already gone through a cryo-proof test, so hopefully when we see Booster 9 return to the launch facility, we'll start seeing things like spin prime tests. I wouldn't be surprised if they do another cryo test on it before, or like ambient pressure test, something along those lines. Look at that ring of lights at the top of the OLM there. That's nifty. I saw somebody post about those the other day. I don't remember who that was. So yeah. So hopefully that's a good overview of the milestone.